friends, welcome to day 2 of our 12 Days of Christmas in July series. If you're just joining in, you can find a link for day 1 at the top of the description so you can get caught up. And don't forget to listen throughout the video for the question of the day. For today's project, we're going to be creating a really sweet pocket folio. And this time, instead of using file folders, we're going to use gift bags from the Dollar Tree. So not only is this fast and easy, but it's great for a budget-friendly project as well. We've got lots of inserts here, plenty of room for your pictures and journaling, and then pockets on the inside as well, so we can have more of those sweet Christmas images included. And you can imagine how versatile this project would be if you want to do this for a different holiday or a different theme. Simply switch out the colorful bag and then the collection that you use, and this will be perfect. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. So I'm going to be working with the Chilling with My Snomies collection. This was my favorite from the haul that I shared a couple weeks ago. I just love how sweet and bright and cheerful these images are. And so that really led me to this project simply because these are very directional patterns. In our previous video, we had very forgiving patterns that were floral and geometrics, and so we could turn them on their side, we could score them and fold them. For this pattern set, though, you really have to be aware that snowmen should not be upside down and snow globes should not be upside down or sideways. And so this project is going to allow us to have a quick project and a very easy project, but we're going to be able to get use out of these super sweet directional patterns. And so our base is going to start with these gift bags that I pick up from the Dollar Tree. And this set comes with 3 for $1.25. I have an extra one so I can show you the folding and cutting, but to be a good sport, I will be using only 3 for our project today, and that's going to require us to be a little bit extra creative for our cover, and we'll get to that in a minute. But to begin with, these bags are approximately 8 1/4 inches high by 5.5 wide. And I say approximately because these are mass produced. And so there's going to be some variation and some imperfection in them. And so how we will work around that is just to give ourselves a little bit extra of a border. And so we can get things in as straight and even as possible, and it will look perfect. So the first thing I want to do is take out that handle. So they're just added in here. I think it's like a raffia or a very thick twine, and they have it added with paper tape. We've taken these out before, but you just want to work underneath that paper tape strip to get that loose, and then pull this as you work along. Sometimes you need to restart it on the other side. Just be careful that you don't tear that bag apart. So here would be something that you could keep for a future project. We may come up with something for this series for that, but you do want to take out both sides. And like I mentioned, it's easier to kind of get a start on one side and then turn it so that you can pull it from the other side as well. So now we have the bag, and I want to create pockets using this portion on the bottom. And so this would be the gusseted part. When you open it, you would have a lot of room inside for whatever gifts that you're using it for. But I want to use this as my pocket. And so I need to fold this up here and have it scored. I'm just pressing it with my fingers here so that I can attach this to the next side. And so what is going to happen is I need to bring this to my guillotine cutter and even off this edge because it is a little bit ratty looking, and I can have easier time with my measurements if I have a specific width. And so that's going to be 5 1/4. So let's go ahead and bring in our guillotine cutter, and I'll just line up that bottom edge. Remember, it's not going to be perfect, but you do want to have the back as even and nice as possible. So line that up to 5 1/4, and then just clip off that tattered edge. So now you have a nice clean finish here and a much better chance at getting your math accurate. Now, when you think of adding this section here as a pocket, you do want to flip it over, because this has all of that taping and folding, and it would be nicer and cleaner if you flip it this way. So when you adhere it, this will be hidden inside the pocket. So like I mentioned, there will be 3 for this folio, and I need to create something for our back page so that we can adhere the last pocket to it. So I've got my guillotine cutter one more time, and remember that our height is going to be 5 1/2. So let's just clip this blue cardstock. This is very heavy cardstock and very sturdy. And then I'll turn it to this direction. And because we have 5 1/4, we'll double that to be 10 1/2. So let's clip that off right here. Bring this to my scoreboard now, and I will lay in a score at 5 1/4. So let's just drop that in here. I have one of these prepared already to be the back cover so that we can have something to adhere our pocket to, but I also want to have a more sturdy finished edge on the front of the book, and so this will give us those layers of thickness that we need, and then also give us a clean finished edge. So I'll just come in with my 2 glue combo here and adhere this together. So I have been into the Dollar Tree, not exactly recently, but not too long ago, and they had such a nice variety of these bags in. So they have a craft color on the inside, and for some reason, to me, that makes them a little bit more sturdy. And I definitely want my book to be thick and sturdy and hold up well. So I'm going to pick those, and I think the value that it is 3 for $1.25 is definitely worth the investment to get this nice chunky album done very quickly and then have those nice clean finish edges. And that would take quite a while to accomplish that with just cardstock, and probably cost more per piece if you were to purchase cardstock and then cut it. So I think this works really well, especially for kind of a more whimsical collection where the little puffiness of the bag kind of adds to the overall feel of the project. So now you can see that I have taken the tape off of this, and I want to just set this aside because I want to build from the back. So here are the prepared bags folded to create those pockets. Remember, we have 3, and I have the very back page here that I have done the same process with. So it is folded over double thickness and having that nice edge. We want to finish the back of these pockets before we glue them down. And so here is where that benefit of cutting those sheets of paper apart. And so now I can work these sweet little penguins here. And remember that we have that extra nice thick border. And then I would attach my pocket this way. So why don't we just go ahead and finish all of these sides of the pocket pages first. That way, once we start gluing, we can kind of create a stack of them and add a heavy book. And that will help to increase the contact so that we get a good glued seam. So on this one, have this pattern. Okay, so now you can see we have those all set, and now I want to come in with my Tombow, and you can choose to add a little bit of your double-sided adhesive also, but I think that will decrease the amount of space that you have in your pocket. And so I just want to lay in my adhesive on the top and the bottom and then this side, so when it's folded over we can access that pocket. So let's go ahead and do that, keeping in mind that you want it over far enough so that it doesn't squeeze out. And this is just going to be a little bit of a patience thing. So you're going to have to get this into place and then hold it while that glue sets up. And the hardest part, I think, will be keeping my hands out of that glue, because you know I get messy. Okay, so there is our first piece, and then you would just hold this into place. And I have already brought down a heavy book, which is Stephen King and very not Christmassy, but let's go ahead and do that. And then we can wait until that glue sets up a little bit. You're going to repeat that process for all of these pockets. It's going to do the last one here, and then we'll set our book down to weight this so that that glue can set up. So the pattern papers that were for the full page are going to be 5 1/4 high by 5 inches wide, and that will give us our 1/4 inch border. Imperfect nature of these mass-produced bags. So now we can put that front cover on. Remember, we had it already taped and set aside. You see I've got my folded edge here, and I will 2 glue combo this as well. And then just position that right along here. So really this is just going to be a whole lot more sturdy with those extra added layers. The really nice thing about these pages too is that all of the full-size pages are the same size and all of the pocket portions are the same size, so it's much easier to get these cut because you just have a couple sets of measurements. So for our pocket page, it is going to be 5 1/4 by 2 1/4. And that's going to give you that border of the blue cardstock around. And I was able to use those offcuts for this so that, you know, we're not leaving some sweet paper behind. And so I'm going to pair that very busy directional pattern with a geometric, and that helps it to keep from looking like too much layers. If I have only one complaint about this collection is that they put the cut aparts on the Most Beautiful Plaid, and so you have to choose which one is more important to you. And of course, because we want to use our cut aparts for our inserts, then that plaid is going to get buried underneath the layers. So I think it makes sense to have these matching. So let's go ahead and drop more penguins here on this side. If you can get those bags for red or green, that would be great as well. Black, orange, different themes or holidays, you're going to find something that will work. So let's just keep on flipping here. Got this one for this side. More of these cheeky little snowmen. cover the pocket. More for this page. It's nice to have these kind of books that will also lay flat for the purpose of pictures. So if you're using this for a documenting December or something like that and you want to get a picture of it, you can go ahead and get that picture. Sometimes it helps to put a little bit of low tack tape so that you can have a even surface. That way the light doesn't reflect off of it differently. But while we're at it, let's go ahead and put our back cover on. I think this is a good time for the question of the day. So this seems like a good time for the question of the day. If you could rank your gift wrapping skills on a scale from 1 to 10, what would it be? For me, it's going to be a 1. And you would think that because I work with paper all day, that I would enjoy that process. But I have very little patience, and tape gets away from me, and the whole process just seems to be quite tedious to me. So I'm going to give myself a 1. Let me know in the comments what you rank your gift wrapping skills. So now that we've got all our inside pages and our back done, why don't we add some inserts for those extra pockets on the edge? And so this is not only going to make our book a little bit thicker and chunkier and more sturdy, but really will improve the amount of space that we have for all those finishing details. So I picked that same blue cardstock as the paper that I cut for the back and front cover, and I have cut my cardstock to be 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I do want this to stick out just a little bit so that it's easy to pull in and out of the book, but I don't want it to overlap too much because I want to add a little ribbon trim closure. And so this is going to work perfectly. And then I do have my pattern paper cut to be 5 inches by 5 inches. And so we're still going to get that really nice 1/4 inch border there. And because this is a gusseted bag, we can put an insert in each side. There will be some additional room in here for other flat keepsakes and mementos if you want to tuck that in as well. Just love all those cheerful bright colors together. So let's put the last 2 in, and then we can focus on finishing the cover. And of course I do want to add some ribbon trim to close this. As I do, I'll just wrap this around and then tack that down with double-sided tape. And then close it in between the layers. So it will be very well secured. And then you can add your favorite finishing details. First, let's go ahead and add some inserts for our inside pockets. Remember, we have those 3 in. So I have picked 3 of the 4x4 and 3 of the 3x4. And I think if I just mix and match these, I'll come up with a nice combination, and there will be plenty of room here to add other details and finishing that you want for your project. Let's put those in here, and then the last 2 can go in the back. So those are really cute, and it's a great way to get use out of those cut apart. This is so heavy now, you guys. I should bring my scale down and start weighing these so you can see how chunky these actually get. Now, I did have a different design intended for the cover, and I made a really large rosette, but it was a challenge to get my florals added. So I'm going to save that rosette for a different project, and we're going to do just our regular finishing detail. So that's going to be a nice doily here. And then I have my image cut from one of those 4x4 cut aparts, and I just used a circle die that had a nested set so that I could also create a border. And I did wind up cutting into those words, but planned to cover that with my florals. And so I did pop that up on layers. So let's add that to the center of this doily. Here are more of those flowers that we created in our flower making prep day video, and I will link that in the top of the description if you want to go check that out. And remember that we had a couple of additional embellishments that we can add here for fun and to help fill this out. And so I did add a couple of those peppermint candies, so that will be a nice generous amount of detail for the bottom of this folio. Just want to make sure to keep all the little fragile bits from the outside edges. And then I did sneak one of those little sticker banner shapes from the sticker sheet, and I'm just gonna pop that up with a foam tab that is less dimensional. And so I did get these from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and they will give you a little bit of lift without being too chunky. And this is a perfect place, I think, for this because of that snowman is looking up and it can see the sentiment there. So I'm just adding that to the corner. Let's go ahead and tie this now, and then we'll add a couple of additional embellishments, and then we will be done. Snowflakes are a must for a snowman image, so let's add those to this left-hand corner. I'll top that with a button to cover the cut ends. And I think we're out of room for sequins, so let's just have this be our finished project for today. I sure do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial for day 2. If you did, don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 3. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and check in the description for links. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye!